it again. We're going back to Omaha. And it's on to the College World Series Final. The 2015 National Champions.
And welcome into another edition of 1186, the podcast, the official podcast of the University of Virginia baseball program. The Wahoos playing some pretty good baseball right now, coming off a 3-game sweep of Miami, capping it on senior day with a win to make it 4 in a row now. The Hoos have won, they've 15-5. I looked this up, 15-5 since April 1st, getting themselves back into the conversation for the postseason. I am Damon Dillman, joined by Andrew Ramspacker, as always, and joining us this week, one of the seniors on this year's baseball team. Got things started this weekend with a quality start against the Hurricanes. Jay Woolfolk joining us here on 1186, the podcast. And Jay, we were joking about this before we started. We've been trying all season to get you on here and talk to you a little bit, but your agent, Justin Armistead, keeps saying, no, we got to figure something else out. Glad we were finally able to make this work out. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So it's that time of year, right? It's that time of year where exams are done. You guys are just playing baseball. Stakes are a little bit higher this year, but how much fun is it? You're playing good baseball like we talked about, just to come to the ballpark every day when you don't have classes to worry about. It's just about baseball and making that postseason push.
Yeah, it's fun. This is kind of what, you work all season for, just at, just for this part of the year. Obviously we have to deal with classes and everything going on, in the first part of the year. But now it's like, hey, it's about us now and baseball. And those are two things that kind of matter right now. And obviously we put ourselves in a position where we kind of just have to keep winning and winning and winning. But that's like, we kind of make jokes about Henry Godbout. He's a better player when he doesn't have school to worry about. But that's kind of the feeling that we have right now. We just play better when there's no school. But yeah, it's kind of like win or go home for us right now. So, but it's fun. Winning is fun, and especially when you're doing with the guys that you play for each other every day. So,
is it better as a first year this time of year, or is it better as a senior?
Probably better as a senior because we've done this for 3 years already, and you're kind of just tired of all the work and school. So it's kind of better as a fourth year, at least for me. I don't know how it is for the freshmen now.
Well, speaking of that, before we go on, and we'll obviously get into the baseball stuff, but as a fourth year, you came back for your fourth year. I'm sure a part of that had to do with pursuing your degree. You're probably pretty close. This is graduation weekend. Obviously, you guys will be in Blacksburg, right, on Saturday. But obviously, some schools still walk on Sunday. What is your plan this weekend, and what are your graduation plans?
Oh yeah, plan to walk on Sunday, and then just hang with family right after that. But I kind of haven't really thought about it too much. I still think we have, business to handle and, at Virginia Tech. So I don't want to look past Virginia Tech right now. And we still got business to handle tomorrow also against a really good George Mason team. So, graduation is coming up. I'm happy for it. But, like he says, this is baseball without school right now. So I'm not trying to think anything about school, just strictly baseball.
What do you get your degree in?
American Studies, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I think I know why maybe Justin pushed you off until the end, because this is really the time where Jay delivers, right? I mean, you think about last year at this time, and obviously everyone remembers that. Will forever remember that start you had against Mississippi State. You kind of channeled some of that again on Friday against Miami. Probably maybe I'll let you be the judge of that. You know it better, but I would say maybe your best outing of the year. What is it about when the stakes get higher that you like to thrive in that kind of environment?
Yeah, I think it kind of proves, not just who I am, but who as a team is also. We played really good ball, from since Georgia Tech on. That's and when our backs are kind of against the wall right now, that's who we are as a team. We're not going to shy down from the opportunity. We're not going to just lay back. Just we're not going to play scared just because we know what's at stake. The best comes out when we are kind of in a situation, and that's how I feel about the team. I feel about myself. We all just bring the best out of each other when we need it most.
You mentioned after Friday's game, I think you were asked about had it kind of struck you yet that that could have been your last start at Disharum Park, and you said something on the lines of the night before you went to the park and just kind of looked around and kind of let that soak in. Can you expand a little more about that, and what does that say about how much this place has meant to you over your four
Yeah,
years here?
coming here, especially just like as a football player, kind of not even fully committed to baseball. I think, coming here was one of the best decisions of my life. But, I think, staying strictly with Coach Oak is, probably one of the, I think the best decision of my life. It's just this place has meant so much to me. It kind of opened a lot of doors for me, especially on the football and baseball side. I not a lot of people can say they did two sports in college. But I kind of, came back for one more year, just thinking about like, wow, I mean, why not? Why not trying to come win the national championship? We've been close for the last 2 years. Why not even, why not try it? And to see the coaches how much they care for us and how much the players care for us, care for each other. That's something you don't get, everywhere. And I just kind of came back to the field and looked on, try to remember all the memories I had since I first stepped on here, until now. So.
Were you by yourself when you did that? Like you took yourself there, or were you with anyone else?
Oh no, I was with my girlfriend, but that was it. So
Okay. Gotcha.
basically being myself because she didn't really understand. But yeah.
Nice.
Andrew brought up the Mississippi State game last year. I feel like for all of us who were there that night, it felt like we were kind of watching you put all the pieces together in real time in front of us and just all that potential that was there turning into tangible production, tangible performance on such a big stage, right? How much now, almost, I guess, not quite a year removed from that now, how much changed for you that night and just experiencing it all coming together from your perspective and the carryover from that night, obviously not just into Kansas State the following weekend, but just into this season too. How much do you think changed as a result of the way things worked for you that night?
I mean, it changed a lot, confidence wise, and confidence was the biggest thing. Just going out there and seeing your stuff play and notice like, hey, if I just attack the zone, good things will happen. And knowing how baseball works, you're going to get beat sometimes, and because that's just a game. But if you attack the zone with good stuff, 9 times out of 10, because hitting is hard, and that's one of the hardest things to do in sports. And like I said, if you attack the zone with good stuff, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win. And that's just kind of the mentality I had right after the game, going into Kansas State, going to Florida State and Omaha, and then, going like that and carrying it on to this year, just like, hey, just go attack the zone with good stuff. You're going to get beat because that's just the game. But, no, more times if you attack the zone, you're going to win. And, that's how, kind of the mentality changed over from this year.
What kind of
The
responsibility comes with being the Friday guy? Because you've been in that role since opening day. What kind of responsibility comes with that role?
I mean, you're the tone setter. You're going out there basically first, like in home games, you throw the first pitch. You kind of set the tone for the guys behind you and in the dugout and the coaches in the dugout. So, and when you're on the way, you kind of gotta, when the hitters kind of set the tone first. But when they do, you kind of gotta keep the tone going. And so I mean, it's a big responsibility, but like it's just, it's fun. You want to be in that position. You want to be the guy that they can trust on going out there Friday night to get that win, to head on to Saturday. So, yeah.
Friday's game was kind of a workman-like, business-like, kind of 6-1 complete game, right? From the pitching side, from the hitting side. It was a little stress-free, right? In those later innings. Saturday, you obviously you got a chance, obviously, to watch that from the dugout as you were resting from Friday's performance. Talking to a few people that were there and around it and just kind of following it, make a case that was one of the best regular season games maybe in Disharum Park history, at least in recent memory. What was that like from your perspective? I mean, you had what? You had two home runs that were robbed, one by either team, right? You had lead changes, you had a walk off, and the stakes of that, right? You guys obviously fighting for your postseason lives. Miami came in that series red hot. They're trying to make it, a better seeding in the NCAA tournament. All that come together. A beautiful, Saturday afternoon in a packed stadium. What was that like? Just sinking that in. Is that something that will always you'll remember, that entertainment value of kind of sitting back and watching that?
Yeah, that I mean that's what college baseball is all about. We got down early and then, just that kind of shows a fight in our team. We're not going to just give up or anything no matter what the score is. And Blanco came in and did an outstanding job, and like I'm so proud of him. I'm happy for him. He just like I personally believe he's still one of the best pitchers in the ACC. And that's my guy, and we still trust him no matter what happens. And then you got, I was joking with Jacob, and I was like, Jacob, you seem to always get robbed in the most important moments. We look back at Stanford, and dude made an outstanding catch against
Right.
Jacob, and then now he made it, what, I think it was Sports Center top 10. I
Right.
think it was, robbed the home run, and then Harrison, hit, coming in clutch to do that, and then next thing you know, we kind of when Jimmy stole, and then that was huge for us. And AT coming in like he always does, and delivering, and just having that feeling to go out and win that series, knowing how big it was, and especially that day, because when you go 2-0 in the series, yeah, it's not like a sigh of relief, but it's just like, okay, we got the series, but we still have one more to go. When you go 1-1, that's when the pressure kind of gets going, and both teams kind of get in. But it was just also big to win Sunday, also, especially for us. And but yeah, that game on Saturday was something else, and like I kind of almost lost my voice, waking up the next morning. I was like, please no, I've lost my voice before, man. I hated it. So, but yeah, it was super fun.
Did that feel like a playoff game, like a postseason game? Did this
Oh,
whole weekend
definitely.
feel that way? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's how we're kind of playing it. We're playing every single game like it's a playoff game. We like, we're not joking about it. We're just like, hey, this is wherever we go, it's a regional, you know, and especially we can kind of treat it like ACC tournament, because at the change of year, they changed the rules this year. It's single elimination in ACC tournament now, so we're treating every single game like a regional and ACC tournament. If it's a win or go home.
We had Coach Mack on here a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about that. He was using a lot of the same phrase. He kept talking about playoff baseball, but just inside the clubhouse, what's it like? Whether it's you, whether it's Jacob, whether it's Diddy or Godbout, or so many veteran guys who've played in these big games on these big stages before, and now you're kind of already in that moment now. So, what's the conversation like amongst you guys in the clubhouse?
Well, I mean, Coach Mack, and they talk about it, so that's where we get it from. We're feeding off of the coach's energy, talking about playoff baseball. We're not putting no pressure on ourselves to go out there and try to be a team that we're not. We're just going to stick to the plan, stick to what they gave us. Just play Virginia baseball. And it's we kind of, as a leader, you don't want to start doing things out of the ordinary, trying to tell guys to do this and this. Just we're kind of keeping it simple. Hey, just go play Virginia baseball, and then the rest will take care of itself. So
You know, playing playoff baseball this time of year and excelling this time of year late in the regular season has been a part of this program's history, right? In particular, obviously 2015, but also 2021, where both of those years at a certain point looked like that team was not going to be an NCAA tournament team. Both teams went to Omaha, obviously won the national championship. You're from Richmond, you're from down the street. How or where were you kind of the history of this place? And does that play a role in it? Like, hey, we might be down, but we have these coaches who have done this before, who've gotten a team that's kind of skidded a little bit early on and had them playing their best baseball toward the end and have made the big dance. How aware were you of that? And then what's it been like to play under that in those circumstances this year with these coaches?
yeah, 2015, I wasn't as aware of it. I didn't really pay much attention to baseball like when I was in 2015. But 2021, I just still remember I was watching the Super Regionals with against Dallas Baptist. And Kyle Till hit the home run. And I was with my friend, and I just remember I was like, if they go to Omaha, I think I'm gonna commit. I think I'm going. Um, and they ended up going. And then I think we were like looking at each other, and he was just like, "Well, you got to keep your word." And I was just like, "Yeah," because I was already committed for football at the time. I didn't know how much of like the baseball would play in it, but I was just thinking like, "Hey, if I was a little worried going there, talking about thinking like, are you gonna let me play quarterback and pitch at the same time?" And I remember my first meeting with Oak on campus. He was like, "I don't want to two-way you. You're already playing quarterback. You're already playing. You're already pitching. There's no reason to go hit you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. That's fine." But it's a thing where it's like, hey, y'all have done these coaches have done this before. It's we start it, I look at it like a similar season to 2021. Like they like they started off 4-11 in ACC play. I'm pretty sure something like that. And all of a sudden they get on a hot streak, and you can kind of see the resemblance, and right now too. And I'm looking I feel very confident going in to tomorrow, to Virginia Tech, and to the ACC tournament. So I think if we just take care of business, maybe we still have the same story. Hopefully we you know have the same story, but we go even further in 2021 and end up like 2015.
I had forgotten about I remember talking to Oak when you first got here. You were over at football, but talking to Oak that first fall, and him talking about how if you were strictly baseball back then, they would love to use you as a two-way guy, using you as an outfielder and a pitcher. I'd forgotten about that. Do you ever think about that, or just everything worked out the way it was meant to work out?
I think about it in a jokingly way. I don't I don't miss hitting at all. I think that's the pitcher's thing. Pitchers think they can go out there and hit a ball like the hitters can already. But no, I don't miss it at all. I think everything worked out how it was supposed to work out. So
Yeah, the
Do you
other
ever
piece
miss
of that is you've
football?
had. Oh yeah, good question.
sorry, it kind of both of y'all started talking. I didn't know.
Oh, do you ever miss football?
No, I don't miss big guys trying to come at me and kill me every single day. I do not miss that at all. But I do miss being around those guys every single day because my first 2 years with football, we early morning workouts, every single day. That's that creates a lot of brotherhood and brothership and bonds that really can't be broken. So that's what I kind of miss about football, just those bonds. Every day in the locker room with each other. But playing the sport, no, I don't miss at all.
I was gonna say that the other piece of that is, you've obviously there's been really good, highly productive outfielders during your time here, right? So I don't know, it might have been tough to find a spot out there, but kind of to that, right? Like these 4 years that you have been here, you have been on part of a team that have had four like incredible offenses.
Mhm.
Like the numbers that have been put up year in and year out, particularly this 4 year stretch, has been really impressive. How has that made you a better pitcher going against those guys in the fall and any bit that you do in the spring?
Yeah, well, my first 2 years, I didn't even go against these guys in the fall.
Right.
I kind of just had to come in and
Oh,
see for myself, like, and during the games. But yeah, I mean, just going like, these past two falls, it's just like, hey, like, if I can get these guys out, you kind of think like I can get anybody out. That's how you kind of your mindset changes, and I think that's what helped me the most is knowing that these guys are some of the best hitters in the country already, and you're getting these guys out. So that kind of helps you as a pitcher, any confidence wise. But
we were talking about how you grew up an hour from here, and we were joking about this a little bit before we started. But obviously, before you got here, you knew a lot of these guys who you wound up playing with here these last few years. Is it fair to describe it a rivalry, a competition between you and Griff O'Farrell? How would you describe going back to your days in high school playing football against each other, baseball against each other? How would you describe that relationship even before you got here?
Well, to be honest, like I've I was very like tunnel vision with like Virginia commits and who like commitments and I like outside. I kind of just like I really didn't care for like people like who committed and stuff. So like I guess my freshman year at Benedictine, I didn't even know Griff. I didn't, it was because I mean St. Chris had a really good talented team my freshman year. I kind of started to get to know Griff more like sophomore year of high school and knowing that I was he was I don't think he was the earliest commit. I don't think he was. I know I was one of the later ones, but I think he was kind of a late one. I think he committed sophomore year of high school. I think. I'm not sure. I'm but I kind of started to get to know him, obviously playing him more and more and more and I was like kind of like dang, I faced him last year and I didn't even know and now look at him, we're playing we're playing twice a year, every single year, and sometimes three times a year because of the state championship. Um, he was always hurt against me in football. He never truly played, and I think he was a little bit scared. I think he was. I'm not don't, but I think he was truly scared. But yeah, I think it's a little just like a friendly rivalry in high school. Every time we saw each other, like it was nothing but love. It wasn't any hatred. But we got on the field, it was just competition. And Griff is a competitive guy, and I am too. So when we got on the field, it wasn't all buddy buddy and friendly. We were trying to beat each other. That's especially going to rival high schools. Um, but I love telling the story that I hit him in the head in the fastball in high school in the state championship. I don't know if he still hasn't forgave me for that, but it was kind of scary. But yeah, but it helped coming in here, and our relationship grew stronger and stronger, especially going to USA with him too. Also, but yeah, I think it was a friendly rivalry thing, and then it was a thing where like we're finally on the same team together.
And then you played, what was it? You played against Ethan in travel ball. You played with Diddy at one point. Just what's it like when all these familiar faces from those settings and you start looking around the clubhouse here at UVA and you realize, oh, we're all on the same team now. We're all in this together.
Yeah, it's fun talking to them about that. It's like that we have like a really cool memory together. It's I still remember I played Ethan at UVA one time and he hit like a triple off the wall. And you're just like at the time you kind of never know like, oh wow, you're going to be playing on the same field with that, guy. And a couple years later here we are and then going playing with Diddy, on in Florida. You're just like, nah, I think I was committed at the time, so like we kind of knew each other already, and knowing that he was coming there, I think we were in the outfield together because I did hit down there with him, and I always joke about it. I had more hits than him in Florida. Funny thing is, Ethan was on that team too. That also, yeah, Ethan was on that team. I didn't have more hits than Ethan, but I did have more hits than Harrison, and it's just kind of funny joking with Diddy about that. But yeah.
Obviously, those new or those familiar faces that you've been joined with when you got here, but there's been a ton of new faces too. In particular, a first year this year, Thomas Lindquist. We saw him yesterday. Kind of like similar to your start on Friday. Was excellent. Through 6 innings and really gave a team a great chance to win, which then finish out the sweep. How have you seen his progression, and how do you kind of foresee his role, going forward after you depart and some other guys depart? I mean, I think this program, to have like a multi-year ace type stuff, they've been searching for it for a little bit, and this maybe could be the guy. What have you seen about him? What do you like about him to this
Yeah, I
point?
mean, he's matured in a lot of ways. You can kind of see it. I feel like old Thomas Valinkas, would after he walked two batters on Sunday. He might have would have like, gave up a little bit of runs right there. And the fact that he managed that showed how much he matured throughout the entire year. And, we kind of, we got a glimpse of it in like the fall and like the preseason. And next thing you know, like he's our Sunday guy and he's going, you know, he's just showing a lot of stuff that you're just like, this guy can be really good. And next thing you know, he just keeps improving each week, each week, each week. And he even had a little rough spot. And next thing you know, he always comes out of it. And next thing, and you're just like, yeah, this guy, we all knew that this guy is going to be that guy in the coming years. And I can't wait to see his progression. He's probably still like the funny thing is like he hasn't even got to his best yet. And that's the scary thing that we all know about him. It's just like we haven't seen his best, and everybody else outside the clubhouse is like, oh, that was his best outing, and we're just like, no, it's not. That's nowhere near his best outing, and because he can always get better. And like I said, he's going to be really good, and he's going to continue to get better and better and better.
I think the other thing that's exciting is whether it's like we talked about the way you pitched in the postseason last year, we talked about the way Blanco threw on Saturday, but it just seems like this time of year, coming out of exams, the pitching staff always seems to take another significant step, right? It just seems like everybody, think about the pitching staff 2 years ago that got to Omaha and all those veteran guys who seem to take it up another level. I don't know. What is it about basically in a lot of ways, since Drew has been here, and obviously you've been here throughout Drew's tenure, your tenure, he's been here. What is it that helps the pitching staff sort of find that next level as we get into late May, early June, and the stage just keeps getting bigger?
To be honest, I really don't have an answer. Like it just, I don't know. I would say like we feel like it's it's like a thing where we start playing well. I guess maybe it's a school thing. I really don't know. I guess we just come together at a certain time and realize that like we have to pick it up for each other. And it's like one guy does bad, we got to come in and pick it up for the next guy. But I think the biggest thing is it's like the hitters give us a lot of room to play with. It's not like they're going out there and just scoring 1 or 2 runs when they're putting up 3, 2, 4 runs an inning, and that's kind of an easy way to kind of go out and pitch because it's like as an opposing team, a team puts up 4 or 5 runs on your starter or your reliever, that kind of brings a lot of momentum down. And and as me, like I said, the hitters got out into a 3-0 start, and next thing you know, like that kind of helped me. It's just like, all right, we'll keep it under 2, and and that's kind of the mindset going. It's like if I can win the inning by not letting them get 3 runs, if I can limit that to 1 or 2 runs, I know my offense is going to score and score and score. And maybe that's the mentality that we have in this postseason, where just our hitters are like, we know when our hitters and our offense is going to score and produce for us. So we can just limit every single team's damage to less than, what they gave up. We will have a really good chance of winning. So,
Andrew, anything else?
I'm good. Thanks, Jay.
All right. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that seems like a pretty good place to wrap it up then. The Who's wrap up the home schedule Tuesday, tomorrow against George Mason, and then the nice, lovely trip to Blacksburg, down 81 to visit the Hokies to wrap up the regular season, and then on to the ACC tournament. Jay, thanks, man. Thanks for finally getting you on here and, facing the music, these tough questions. We appreciate it. And good luck the rest of the way. I'm sure we'll be seeing you. So, yeah, for Jay, for Andrew, I'm Damon. Thanks for joining us here on 1186 The Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.